Hey guys, Steve here. Today we got to look at the new patch notes for the update coming out next Monday, the 18th of May. And this is going to be the update that begins the introduction of Legendary Tier. We'll talk about that here in a second. First off though, we got a first Tier 7 campaign reward ship, Yudachi, Japanese destroyer. And this is going to be a 5-week update cycle, 5-week campaign, 90 levels of progression. Rewards look pretty standard: insignias, promotion orders, commendations, commander crates, so on and so forth. But the Yudachi, a lot of people have been saying to me and probably to each other that they want a Tier 7 destroyer for the campaign reward ship. Here it is. And of course, besides that, we have the full introduction of the Soviet battleship. So anyone who's gotten a Soviet battleship out of one of those Soviet crates, you keep the ship, you keep the progression. So let's say you had the Tier 6 CNOP, for instance. If you fully grind that out, you'll be ready for the Tier 7 Vladivostok once it comes out on Monday. But you can get all the ships in that line. So that's a good line, kind of not the easiest for brand new players because they kind of get punished if you make mistakes, but pretty effective if played well. But the main news is the introduction of the Bureau. What the heck's the Bureau, you ask? Not the FBI, but it's going to be like a research bureau. This is going to be kind of the mechanism that the legendary tier ships are acquired. So it's going to start off with it's basically kind of a different style of a campaign that's a little bit more long term. Going to start off with a mission called Introduction to the Bureau. And then you're going to get the Tier 2 British destroyer, I think Campbelltown. At least that's what's suggested by the picture. I'm going to put a link to the patch notes in the video description, by the way. You can check it out after the video's done if you'd like. But I'm going to kind of read through it. It says the default Bureau unit is a project. Project is comprised of a series of segments, each representing a research milestone. Projects are most likely to culminate in bringing you a new ship to your port with a specific focus on legendary tier ships. However, there will also be lower tier ships and perhaps special upgrades in the future, which I would take to be what they call in the PC version legendary modules. We'll see if that's exactly what they're referencing, or even something different altogether, it says. So to start a project, you need to simply choose one, after which it will appear in your active projects tab. Once your project is active, you can start managing its segments. Segments consist of multiple stages. Segments of a research project have research points allocated to them by default, but a very slow rate. To boost progress, there are several options: by adding patrons, one or more of your commanders to the project segment, and by assigning one or more of your ships to the segment. Moreover, completing particular battle challenges can affect the project segment in a positive way. There'll also be a doubloon option called the breakthrough. There's a little bit more info on that. Once the segment is complete, you'll receive a reward for it, and you'll be able to move on to the next segment. After you've done all the segments, the project's complete, and you'll get the final reward, which in most cases is going to be the ship. We'd like to point out some projects will be available for extended lengths of time, while others will be available on a temporary basis. So kind of the equivalent of, missions or campaigns, just kind of longer term. It says most of them are going to be taking 2 to 3 months, at least for these legendary tier ones. To unlock a legendary tier ship project, you'll need to complete the introductory project first. This is going to take about a week on average. And then it says after the intro project has been completed by a significant number of players, we might need to collect a bit more data before unlocking the next project. So they're going to have everyone do this introductory project. It's going to be for the Campbelltown. Then they might have to slow the roll for just a little bit, make sure they got enough data that the thing's working properly. Then it'll kick off. While you'll be able to start researching the legendary ships in this update, it won't be possible to complete that research before the next one rolls out. So we won't actually see any legendary tier ships in this update, but people begin to get those. And it says while the projects cannot be instantly completed by spending doubloons, you can use them to speed up progress by about 40%. So it's going to be some sort of grind. You're not going to be able to just instantly wallet warrior these things, which is good in my opinion. We need something that has some sort of experience requirement in the game. This is going to be finally at the legendary tier. It says a legendary ship with all the boosters without daily trials should take on average 2 to 3 months to obtain. Adding trials that can take off as much as 2 weeks off, while spending doubloons can shorten it by just about a month. So, that's kind of a indication of how long this is all going to take. Before boosting progress with doubloons, make sure you have an understanding of what you're paying for. I've learned that the hard way. None of the 3 legendary ship projects are time-gated, but there will be time-gated projects in the future. Patrons, the commanders being assigned, will only become available in the next update, so we won't exactly know what that is. And then a premium account allows you to research 2 projects simultaneously. So one's going to be kind of the default. And then the first batch of ships going to be Yamato, Großer Kurfürst, the German Tier 10 on PC battleship, and Alaska, kind of a super American cruiser, which looks pretty badass. So 3 pretty attractive ships that we're going to be able to pick from. These ships can only be matched with other legendary tier ships and tier 7 ships, so it's effectively a tier 8. And the difference between teams cannot be more than 1 legendary ship, and there can be up to 18 legendary tier ships in a single battle. So it's not going to be this 6+1 kind of thing that we saw in the test. It's going to be a full tier, and you could essentially have 9v9 legendaries, or it'll be a mix of tier 7s mixed in there, roughly equally balanced. So that's how it's going to work. It's going to be effectively a tier 8. It's going to take a little bit of mandatory research. And then they're going to be buffing a lot of the tier 7s to deal with the incoming legendary tier. I'm not going to go through all those. Most of them are cruisers, and a lot of them have to do with rudder shifts being reduced. And then, like the Baltimore's bow and aft is getting increased from 25 to 27, which that ship needed anyways, and so on and so forth. So again, the link to the notes will be in the description if you want to check it all out. It's mostly cruisers. There's a buff to the Fletcher, and the Vanguard now is a variant of the main reload booster. It only holds 1 charge unless otherwise enhanced by commander skills, it says. So that's pretty interesting. We also have new maps. These are going to be for tier 6, 7, and legendary tier maps. So there's Greece, Crash Zone, and Northern Waters. And then a few miscellaneous things. One of them says the commander tabs are now separated by nation for ease of navigation. Ship fires have new effects implemented. Probably the sounds of potatoes bursting. I don't know what that is. Ship carousel text has been slightly improved. No idea what that means. Various control improvements and to the sensitivity of the rudder and so on and so forth. Any leftover rubles, which I think was the first Soviet currency, is going to be converted to credits. If you have any imperials, what's the second currency? There's still small Soviet containers. If you have any leftover Soviet containers that can bring you Soviet ships, you can still cash those in. And then there's a couple bug fixes that aren't really that specific. So obviously, the campaign's interesting, the Soviet battleships are interesting, but the Research Bureau is going to be kind of the main focus of this update, and it looks pretty interesting to me. A lot of players that have been playing for a while, particularly since the game came out, have been kind of hoping for some sort of tier that kind of requires a little bit more experience than just playing a campaign and then getting an extremely powerful ship like the John Bart, which is kind of misplayed often. Anyway, this one's going to take. We don't know exactly how much grinding, but I mean it looks like you're going to have to play the game for a couple months before you're actually getting these ships, which I think is a good thing. Might be a little disappointing if you're a brand new player, but legendary tier ships are just that good that if you don't have the skills to actually play them well, you're going to be extremely ineffective, or you're just going to get your butt kicked. So I think that's positive. I want to see what you guys think in the comments. Of course, one other thing that's not specifically stated in the notes, but it's shown in one of the pictures, it says you can swap the research focus that you're working on, so, and then you don't lose the progress of anything that you've started the research on. So if you kind of want to change your mind halfway through, you're not going to lose all your progress on whatever you were researching before. You can just start the new project, then go back to the old one. So pretty interesting. Yamato, by the way, they did say, I think it's probably going to be roughly similar to the test variant that we saw at the end of last year. Those of you that were around for that, of course, remember the Yamato. But they did tweak that one a little bit, so we'll see exactly how it plays. But this should be pretty interesting. I mean, it's effectively the Tier 8. The Legendary Tier, we can expect for sure the Tier 10 ships that are on PC. But the Alaska, for instance, is a Tier 9. So I think any Tier 9, Tier 10 ship on PC is going to be kind of fair game. And of course, they'll kind of rebalance these ships so that they're all kind of roughly the same, rather than 9 being slightly weaker than Tier 10. They'll all be kind of the same strength. That's what I'm guessing anyway. So anyway, that's a look at the update patch notes. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Are you excited or not? And if you're new, hit the like button, subscribe. Blah, 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 you know the drill, and we'll see y'all later. All right, peace.